for taking the time after a big victory. And Tim Legler and I, Stephen A. Smith and I, just moments ago, we were just raving about Andrew Wiggins. I just wonder, from your vantage point, what this former number one, who's been a lot of things, right? And people have talked about what he wasn't. And people were waiting for him to become whatever they thought he wasn't. What was he tonight, Draymond?
He was absolutely incredible, and he's been that way this entire playoff run. He's been guarding the other team's best wing player, and he's giving it to us on the offensive end as well. You're talking a guy who never had more than 11 rebounds in the game. He gets 16 rebounds in one game and then follows that up with 13 the next game. He's stepping up to the challenge, and it's huge because we need it right now.
And I'm always interested, Draymond, in the guy who comes out and you're picked one, and maybe you go to a spot where you can be a superstar, but does it really add up to something, right? Are you part of a winning team? Well, oftentimes, no, because you're not on a great team. Well, now he's part of a great team. But learning to become not the best guy on that team, I imagine that has to be a process. And I just wonder, over the course of his time with you, how you've seen him grow comfortably into his role there.
He's continued to grow. I think, when you look back at the last 2 years that we had, he came here in the middle of our worst year that we've had since I've been here, the worst year for this organization in a long time, the worst. And, he kept getting better. And then we came into last year, he continued to get better. He settled into his role. And this year, he went even more. Defensively, he's taking on that challenge every game. He's moving the ball. He's cutting without the ball. He's offensive rebounding. It's been absolutely huge. And you can run the tapes back from my interviews. I've always said no one ever talks about organizations. It's always the player's fault. Every time a player doesn't pan out, it's always the player's fault. He's showing that it wasn't him, and it's huge for us, and we need that for one more win.
I have a podcast, as you have a podcast, and on mine last week, we were talking, Draymond, about something I find really interesting when it comes to your league. I feel like there's so many people out there that don't really root for a team or root for a player. It's like they'd rather root against players rather than root for them. That's kind of an odd phenomenon, and you've dealt with that. You've dealt with the pointed criticisms and the noise that comes with being on this stage. And I just wonder, over the course of this series, personally, how you've tried to take that noise and channel it, how you've tried to block it out as best you like. What has it been like for you personally in this series with all of the noise that exists out there these days?
You like you said, you try to channel it and use it in the right way. I think I've had a couple games or a game where I didn't use it the right way, and tonight I think I used it better. So it's going to be important, like I said, to do that for one more game. Fans are going to do what they do. I think,
sure,
a lot of it is also due to the way the media acts in today's day and age. I think that's a huge part of it as well. It's all a trickle-down effect. But I think Boston, they're called Title Town for a reason. Those fans are involved. They're loud, sometimes obnoxious, but, they've helped their team win 17 titles. And so you got to respect it. They're going to do what they do, but it's important that we come out here and do what we do. And it starts
Draymond,
with me
the good news
bringing the force to the game and bringing the defense.
The good news is, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're part of the media now, and you get to control the conversation from your perspective, and I know you'll
New
be...
media.
That's it. And Stephen A's part of it, as you said, right? So you can get your version of the evening's viewpoints out in just a moment. I just have one last thought. After being away from this stage as an organization for a brief moment and now being back on it, you're a win away. Maybe it comes in Boston if you get it. Maybe you have to get it back at home. How much fun is a night like this and knowing what you're heading into on Thursday night?
It's a lot of fun. You want to be on this stage. As a competitor, this is what you work for, to get to this stage and try to play your best, take home a championship. We're one win away, but it's going to be the toughest win yet, and we understand that. So we got to go in with our hard hats, expect everything, expect them to come out punching, and be ready to take that punch and respond. I think we did that tonight in the third quarter where they came out throwing blows. We settled in, we took the punch, and then we responded, so that was huge. And by the way, go watch the Draymond Green show. I said Stephen A. sometimes act like the new media. Sometimes he doesn't. That's on you, but, nonetheless, don't just lump me in with media, baby. It's the new media.
Understood. Hey, listen, it's a content-based world, and you're kind to share some of yours with me here on our show, and I know people will be checking you out a bit later. As always, your time's appreciated, Draymond. Thank you. Is provided tonight And outside of Wiggins, I mean, they don't, in Tim's estimation, win this game without him. What did you see from Wiggins in this game on both ends of the floor in terms of his contribution to Golden State's win?
Well, I thought it was the best performance he's ever put forth. I didn't hear you and Tim Legler talking prior to my coming on, but I could imagine what my buddy Legs had to say. Andrew Wiggins stepped up, and he's going to erase memories of him being the #1 overall pick and being in Minnesota and being relatively pedestrian. He was aggressive tonight. He was looking for a shot. He recognized the fact that Steph Curry didn't have his, and as a result, he really stepped up and handled his business on both ends of the floor. Shooting 12 of 23 for the field, ended up with 26 points, grabbing 13 rebounds, embracing the toughest assignment, which was Jason Tatum, and contributing to holding Jason Tatum to 5 points in the fourth quarter and 1 of 5 shooting. So about the job that Andrew Wiggins did tonight. He was clearly the MVP of this game.
No doubt. And my apologies, Stephen A. I never know when you get your earpiece in to hear what the conversation was. But Legs and I were just talking about how if we're patient, which we aren't always in our business, right? If we're patient, we can allow somebody to become something more than they were. And we get what he was and what he...
Yeah, that's always the case.
Right.
Well, that's always the case.
Always.
I mean, of course, if we're patient, we'll see guys. But because you can't afford to be. When guys walk to the negotiating table and they're asking for 30 or 40 million,
it's not
and the
my
money that
though.
you give them costs somebody else something, you don't have. I'm just saying, you don't have but so much time. You need immediate dividends. You need an immediate payoff in that sometimes. And what I mean by immediate, it doesn't have to be that year, but year 2, year 3, you definitely need to see something. You don't need a former #1 overall pick waiting 5 or 6 years to show you what he's capable of doing in a moment like this. But you can't take credit away for what he has shown us. He has shown that he can score the ball, but more importantly, he's willing to embrace tough defensive assignments, and he answers the call. And he deserves a lot of credit for that, and he's getting it right now.
No doubt. Stephen A., if I tell you tonight at 9 Eastern, right before the jump, Steph goes 0 for 3. For the first time in his career in the playoffs, 133rd playoff game, he doesn't make it 3. If I tell you that prior to the game and you're in Boston's locker room, you think we're going home with a chance to seal it. Do you feel like they missed perhaps their best opportunity to steal one if a 7th game is needed?
I don't think so because they're road warriors. They were 7-0 coming into this game. You know what their record was on the road. They were 7-0. In terms of after a loss.
Right.
So we know that they can show up and deliver the goods on the road. I was very scared for Golden State coming into this game because I said they needed this game desperately because they're going to be hard-pressed to convince me that they're going to be able to beat Boston in back-to-back games at TD Bank Garden. That crowd is going to be rocking. They're going to be ready, and I think Tatum and Brown and the rest of the cast will feed off of that. We'll see what happens. But to come back here and Golden State for Game 7, it's not beyond the realm of comprehension that an elite defensive team can show up on the road and really close the team out. It's entirely possible that Boston could do it. I'm not assuming they will. I've got Golden State winning this series in 7 games, but nevertheless, I don't negate the fact, nor do I ignore the fact that the Boston Celtics, with their personnel, can come in here in a Game 7 to win it. But they got to get it done in Game 6 because when you consider what Boston did, they're in a tight spot right now because Golden State shows up in Game 6 Thursday night playing with house money, knowing they've got a Game 7 back here as a worst-case scenario. That's a dangerous position for Boston to be in where Steph Curry and them can just show up and know they got 48 minutes to ruin everything for you, and they got the cushion of a Game 7. Boston's in trouble.
Stephen A. Smith, it's a long work day, man. I always appreciate you staying up late with us. I know First Take, that alarm goes off quickly, so rest well. I appreciate the time and be well until next time, okay, my friend?
Thank you,